Hello, welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 151. I'm Clint, aka JCM, which this week is Isley.
Yo.
Messiah.
Hello.
And this week was kind of just all about layoffs. I was trying to go back and look to see if there's anything else to talk about. And a lot of just miscellaneous stuff like patches for Helldivers, DLC for Splatoon, rumors that the Switch 2 got delayed to 2025. But nothing like big. The only thing big was like Sony had massive layoffs and EA had massive layoffs.
How can the Switch get delayed if it never even had a release date?
Because because the rumor was the Switch 2 was going to come out this year. Like that's like everybody who's in the rumor like says that's what it was. So the delay was like, oh, the rumor now is that they delayed it to prevent scalping into 2025. That way they can have more consoles manufactured. I mean, you're still gonna have scalpers. Like they're just gonna buy a ton of. It just means they have more opportunity to buy. Like it's not gonna be as difficult for them. But that's the idea. Like, oh, we'll delay it so we can make more and then get more out to customers instead of being, Nintendo classically with their artificial shrinkage or shortage of product availability. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. What the hell is on my laptop there? Anyways,
bug?
No, it's just like my kid must have
2 bugs. Oh, kid jammies, jam hands.
But
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So it's just rumors that they delayed it to next year instead of this year. That way they could just have more consoles. So we'll see. I mean, I guess sure, but if it's early next year, I suppose, because they watch what the Switch launched in February or beginning of March at least, right? When it came out in 2017. So I'm sure it could be like a Q1 release, but yeah, it's just all layoffs. Sony had some big layoffs across like a bunch of their studios. They hit Naughty Dog, Guerrilla, Insomniac, Firesprite, and apparently London Studio is just going to be shuttered. And it's just
insane.
Crazy. Yeah. And he was like, and what was crazy is like people showing pictures of Jim Ryan there like a couple days prior. And he's got like a picture with the team. Like, I'm sure he was there to talk to leadership, so they can't say anything to the team. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, it's just going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, here, Jim's here. Let's take a picture. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you don't have a job. But I know like
you were here to fire us. That's what happened.
Yeah. I know like at least in Europe, they have like better labor laws there. So it's like, it's not just like in the US, typically it's like, okay, you're out, like effective EOD or immediately. But they got like stuff they have to do in the EU to actually, give them time and whatnot.
Well, I think the reason people are worried is like, I think in the EU they get a heads up. So the London studios got the heads up. And now it's like, well, what else is coming? Like everywhere else in the world, what else is coming?
Yeah, it's just crazy that it even hit like their biggest, again, Naughty Dog, Insomniac, like these big studios. And
the big studios that bring in their biggest titles.
Yeah, like Santa Monica didn't get hit, which is interesting. And I wonder if that's because they just put out some stuff recently. But yeah, it's like I don't know, or because they they canceled the Last of Us factions. So now it's like, okay, well, the stuff we expected to make from that is now gone. So it's like, okay, well, we have to calculate that into our revenue or whatever. But anyways, yeah, it's rough, man. Like I don't know how you don't have like a, they often talk about Nintendo having like a, not a rainy day fund, but like just a big war chest because of all the money they made early on. So it's like they can take some losses. Like I'm curious from a business standpoint with Sony and other companies as well. Like how much of your revenue do you allocate towards, okay, let's just keep this, like business savings. Like instead of, obviously you reinvest some of it into R&D, other projects, yada, yada, this and that, but bonuses, I guess. But it's like, do you save any for in case like, hey, if we have a bad year, we're covered?
No, they go to the if you have a CEO next to your name.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, EA also laid off 670 people. It was like 5% of their global workforce.
5% is insane.
Yeah, Mark Leto left. He was working on Battlefield. He's not gonna be there anymore. And then that whole team, what's the name of their? I should have had it brought up, but like their team got like closed down, and now they're being, absorbed into another studio to help work on something else. It's just like, man, I don't know. It's crazy. It's just, and I know, like, I'm curious what the severance package is too, because I know like a lot of big companies have severance package. I know like my company, when they laid people off, I've heard like not the exact amount, but I heard like, the severance package is pretty substantial. Obviously, you'd prefer to have a job, but I'm curious what it is for Sony, like what their package is. But yeah, it's just, I mean, we've talked about this in other podcasts. It's got to be tough where in the past, if there's a closure, people can typically, or not typically, but hopefully, find work. Like people on Twitter are always like, hey, we're hiring at this place, we're hiring at this place. But now it's like, it's everything. So no one's saying like, oh, come for work for us, unless they're like Supermassive had a big layoff. And it's just like, okay. And it's like, yeah, just everybody's like, oh, hardly anyone's going to be hiring. But
it is hard when it's industry wide.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, for everybody who got laid off at Epic, this place is hiring, but in 4 weeks that place is going to have massive layoffs too. So it's like, are you going to get laid off again, or are you going to lose a bunch of your new coworkers, and it's going to sow dissent that all the older people get fired and you're still there? It's just like there's no security, there's no retention or loyalty or anything. It's just like, okay, well, just bounce around and hope you don't get fired again.
The loyalty thing is something that I feel like that's a big deal, and it's what happened with like all the tech layoffs, is that people stopped working as teams, and instead they started working like pointing out who was the worst on the team or throwing other people under the bus so that they weren't the next round of layoffs.
Yeah, it just makes it makes the entire working culture just absolute ass.
Yeah, and they always say like it's to streamline and still like we want to reassure gamers that this move will help us streamline and still produce the games you expect. I'm like, I don't know how you streamline by just removing a bunch of people from a team.
Yeah, it's like I don't give a shit.
Streamlining.
I don't give a shit about giving me more games. I want the people who make my games to be sheltered and fed and happy and not like treated like shit. I don't want to buy your big AAA awesome incredible made for me game if you treated the people who made it like garbage.
Yep. Yeah, I did see the two bits of good news we did see this week is that Saber Interactive apparently is leaving Embracer Group.
Oh yeah,
in a $500 million deal, and then Toys for Bob is going independent, so they're no longer part of Activision. So it's like it's nice to see. Okay, like if Saber's leaving Embracer, is Gearbox, like they're pretty big. I'm sure, like obviously Embracer won't get rid of them when they're, even though they've been shutting down, letting people go and whatnot. But it's like, will they leave? Like I figured that would make sense. Like Gearbox could easily leave and just still be, make games and be a publisher and what have you. But
I wonder if we're going to start seeing more of that with stuff like Embracer and Activision and the big places that buy up all these little studios, like the studios going to them and being like, hey, you're going to fucking shutter us anyway, so how about we just give you a little bit of a lump sum and we can keep all our employees and our name and go make video games instead of worrying about our jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I saved it, but there was one where like a studio had to do some layoffs, but at least that studio, like the CEOs took a pay cut to help reduce how many people had to be let go. But I don't have it saved, so I don't remember who it was. But I was like, yeah, why don't more people do this? Be like, what if I give back my bonus I got or something?
Yeah.
Or what if I do? It's
Which
like,
is literally, that's what Nintendo will, I don't know if they still make that a practice, but that's what they do. It's like they take the pay cut so that they can keep the employees, and then they're happy and secure and can make a game that makes all that money back.
Yeah, but it's bonuses for CEOs is always funny. It's like, how much are you actually like? There comes a point up the chain where it's like you don't do anything. Like I'm sorry, like I look at the, like I can see on my email now, look like who I report to, who they report to, and it's like, okay, all the like divisional leaders, like all they do is consolidate information from the people below them to people up top. Like but you don't do anything. I'm like, what do you? It's like, come on, it's like you're
That's
not
always
contributing.
the struggle though. Like CEOs, there was, I don't know, what is it? It's people always comment that CEOs have like 10 different positions, and it's like, well, clearly you don't deserve $30 million if your job can be done in 2 hours a week.
Yeah. It's like, and you see that graphs, like the gap of CEO pay over time versus the people who are actually doing the work. It's like, you just talk and make decisions. Like you listen to, the people under you who maybe talk about market fluctuations or not. Like, I'm sure there's, a lot of decisions come down to you. Yeah. But you're not like, you're not boots on the ground doing stuff. It's just
Yeah, and
like,
it becomes a point where you're so many levels up that you're so far removed from the actual core of the company and the actual production of, what your business does and everything like that. It's just like you really have you're so removed, you have no idea about anything, really. All you're hearing is like consolidated information that's been consolidated through 4 other people. When it gets to you, it's like a sentence in an email. But you're so far removed, like you're not you're not actually contributing anything to the projects or the lower levels or anything like that. It's just like,
yeah,
you just have no idea. All you see is numbers, because that's what is filtered through to you.
Yeah, you disseminate information to people below, like, hey, let's try to do this, or we should make this change, or maybe you have ideas, I guess, sure, but it's just like, yeah, it's like your degree of separation from what's being done is just, and then they send out like a employee appreciation emails, and it's like, shut up. But anyway,
how many gift cards did you buy for your employees?
Yeah, it's rough. Like,
our employee appreciation was being told that they were going to shift our raise schedule from March, i.e. this month, to the end of the year.
Oh.
And they expected nobody to question what happens to the 9 months where you don't get a raise.
I got a gift card to Dutch Bros.
Nailed it.
Yeah, we
All
do
this
have.
to say, it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have like a thing where we get like discounts and whatnot through certain. I'm trying to remember the name of the store, but it's like not like REI, but it's like one of those kind of stores where it's like, hey, you get like discounts for the people who work for the company. But we have a program where it's like an appreciation kind of award thing where like you can, if you help out with the project, you can like say like, hey, I this person really helped me out. Here's X amount of points, but the points can be redeemed for like items on the store or just gift cards. So it's like oftentimes they'll get stuff like, oh, here's $100 essentially. I'll just put on an Amazon gift card. It's like little tiny bonus incentives there when you for like employee appreciation stuff, which is like, okay, that's nice, but yeah, it's like I think about a lot of the stuff we did for the employees at the company back when we were independent versus how it changed over time under different companies. But anyway, yeah, it's rough. It's everybody dealing with layoffs. It's always ridiculous when people find out like, oh, I found out that I don't have a job because of this tweet, or like they don't even find out about it from their studio, their HR teams. It's just like,
oh god, with the London layoffs, there was a London employee on Reddit, and he's like, this is actually the first I heard about us being closed and me not having a job anymore.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
it's like I can't even imagine being told over Reddit that that's how I lost my job.
Yeah. Like you have to email HR, be like, am I part of the 600 that was laid off this morning? Because Twitter said 600 people are gone, and I just want to make sure. And they email you back. They're like, oh yeah, you don't work here anymore. What the fuck?
No. But yeah, like I said, aside from that, not much in the way of news this week. Just
that's bleak.
A lot of patching.
Bleak, depressing news.
Yeah.
Yep. Not much game wise. But we did have the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I haven't played much. Have either of you been playing it over the weekend?
I'm like maybe 2 hours into it, about. So not very much. I played intermission first, so that was like my Thursday and Friday night, and then I just started it last night after the saga of trying to retrieve my save file.
Yeah, I saw your picture busting out your PS4 so you can get that.
No, I've held off on purchasing it yet. I know I'll crack eventually. It just, the whole concept of that, I'm not going to repeat the rant last week. It still pisses me off that the game is 3 parts.
Oh, yeah. The whole 45 minutes that I spent trying to retrieve my save file, all I did was bitch about the game and the fact that I have to do this and why is it so difficult. It would take less effort for me to go unbox my PS1 and my game and find my memory card and play it that way, and blah. I didn't even like the ending of Remake, and the first 10 minutes of Rebirth made me angry, and yeah, it was a whole thing. But I was like, fucking Nibelheim's music is so good though.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
they got my nostalgia.
I historically give in to fear of missing out with like watching streamers play a game and me being like, oh my god, that game looks so fun. So I guess marketing does work on me. But yeah, I haven't bought it yet, just because I talked a little last week of like all the random expenses I've had in the past month. But I'll probably get it on sale because I will give in.
Yeah.
And then I'll feel bad and you guys can give me shit.
I definitely probably should not, because I bought the game and then I bought Intermission too, which was $20, and I was like, probably shouldn't have done that the same week I needed to make my car payment and the rent payment, and last week or the week before that we had vet bills, and I was like, what fucking, but I'm a sucker for nostalgia is what it is. So it's like,
Yeah.
I hate, there's a lot of core things about this that I hate, but like walking around 4K Nibelheim, I was like, fuck off.
Yeah, I do like the way, like, again, I haven't done much, just in the opening. I'm in Nibelheim, and I'm in the, I did like the vacuuming up of the the Mako vapors.
Oh
that
my
are
god,
so silly. But and then I like kind of like stop there. But yeah, I like the way they do. So they don't do it early in the original, but later in Final Fantasy VII OG, they do that thing where like there's like a, or like the screen kind of scratches.
Yeah.
It's like a record scratch visually, and for like Cloud. And I like how they kind of implemented that idea earlier on as he kind of recaps the story of him in Nibelheim with Sephiroth, especially when he's having like, he goes and talks to his mom. And I like how they do the voiceover with like, oh, we want to hear, like Barrett's like, we want to hear about it, this and that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I went to go visit my mom, and then his mom's talking to him, but it's like, clearly he didn't do that. So it's doing like the weird scratch like in his memory. And I'm like, okay, this is like obviously super obvious that something's wrong here. Versus like the original, because the original is very much like Tifa's like, oh, you did this, huh? Like, question it. And so I like that. And I like that you went to my house? You went through my stuff?
I know, I like that it still gives you that, like, it gives you like the option. It's like, oh, did you play the piano? Did you go see your mom? And it pops up. He's like, no, I didn't. Or yeah, I did. I like that little like kind of homage to it. And yeah, in the original, when he's talking to his mom, she just kind of was like popping around, and it's like, oh, well, he must be like, I don't know, truncating the conversation or whatever. He doesn't really want to talk about it in depth, but in this, it's more obvious that's like something is wrong with his memory.
Yeah. And then like, obviously spoilers for anybody who never played the original, but when the one soldier in the van who's like, he's like a little car sick or something like that, and then he jumps in front of Tifa to protect her from the flying enemy and stuff like that. It's like, okay, and like he says in the truck, he says something for a moment. It's like it's clearly Cloud's voice because it's Cloud, and so it's like I wonder how many people will like notice that or like kind of shrug it off who are new to Final Fantasy and never played the OG, that will know that, oh, that's Cloud because this whole story is false.
I do like that, because in the OG there's no way to tell, it's just a little like soldier sprite or whatever, but in this one he's like tilted in just a way where you can see his hair is blonde, and I was like, I got that, I see that, I know which one you are.
Yeah, it's nice that they could do more to hint at it where you couldn't really do it in the first one, because there's no voiceover in the first one. It's gonna be like it's not like the text box will say sounds a lot like Cloud. But,
this is the same voice actor.
yeah, but yeah, and then Sephiroth's so funny, and like just hearing him talk, especially that voice. Like I feel like it's funny because I wonder how much they're kind of stuck with doing a similar voice they did with Advent Children. And then I'm not sure if there were like any other instances prior to that movie where they had a voice for him. Like I don't know if there's like a pachinko machine or something, or like some random bullshit thing that we never saw. Or like, is he? Because I don't think he's in Dirge of Cerberus, right? He's not in there, like in any flashback or anything.
No, but I mean, Crisis Core, but I think Advent Children was the first time that the characters were voiced. if I remember correctly. So
yeah, and I wonder how much like maybe at the time they thought it was fine. Like I'm curious how many voice actors they went through because I feel like he probably could do like I feel like it's a fine voice for like the ominous Sephiroth, mysterious bad guy that you're chasing. But I feel like when he just him as a dude, like I'm curious if in Ever Crisis, and I don't know if those are voiced in English, but because he's like it's like a young Sephiroth and it's like telling like a story in that. And I wonder if his voice is slightly different. Like I feel like his not turned evil voice could have been a little different or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I
and
think
how
it would have had
again,
a bigger impact, especially because that's the beginning of the game. If his voice was like different than the one that you experience in Remake for people who've never played it, and they're like, why does he sound different? And then his voice switches when he has that moment in the manor or whatever,
yeah,
where he starts to go crazy, and it switches after that.
or yeah, even if it was like the same voice actor, just maybe tone it down.
Yeah.
Don't,
Tone
he's
down
still
your
like
smolder just a little bit.
yeah, it's still kind of there when he's talking, but yeah, and I didn't play, I didn't touch Ever Crisis, but I'm familiar with like the idea that it has like a story for Sephiroth and yada
Yeah.
yada, and I'm like, man, I kind of wish they did more exploration of him as a character, because I feel like a lot of the better villains we see in media are ones where you can actually see more of them,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like it's like that's
felt like
why.
Crisis Core sort of. I know it didn't directly add to his story, but it was more of like Genova and stuff. But I felt like that gave a little bit more context that was very valuable for like Final Fantasy VII's story overall.
Sure, but I just want more of the character, like before he became who he is now, like which is what Ever Crisis I guess was trying to do. But I'm not going to touch that thing, especially because it's like
that mobile
it
game
was split in
bullshit.
parts. Yeah.
Wait, Ever Crisis was split into parts? It's a pachinko game split into parts? Are you serious?
Well, like the story bits that they released for it, like weren't there all at once. Like they came out later. Because I know, like when it first came out, it was like only there was like 4 story bits for Sephiroth, and then another one came out later. Which this is information I got relayed to from listening to a podcast where they were super invested and they kind of relayed the story to. And I like skimmed the wiki article the other day.
Yeah,
insane.
it's a mobile game that's like gacha based, basically. Well, not gacha based, but it's like you can get different like costumes and do events and stuff like that. But they released the story in like updates, so you could like grind in between them and stuff. It was a very like mobile game roadmap, I guess, where they just released it all in parts. You couldn't just play through the whole story at once.
Yeah,
and even oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it felt like the only reason people played it was for the Sephiroth story stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's in Crisis Core, not because he's not like the focus or whatever. You're playing as Zack, and Sephiroth is already this like top level soldier or this like legendary hero kind of guy or whatever. The only like character tidbits you get about him are like little things that you can pick up and read about him. Like that was the first kind of trying to build him as like a normal person before the stuff in 7 happens. But he was already kind of this like sort of fucked up dude who was already like aloof and didn't really like interact with any of the other soldiers and stuff like that. So
except the 2.
yeah.
But yeah, which is fun. I like, there's some fun cutscenes, and you do kind of run around with them. I think a bit as Zack, right, in some of the portions of the game, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's it would have been interesting if they had done something. Even if it was like, I don't know what other medium they could have done it, but it would have been nice to see a little more.
You don't know what other medium? How about a normal video game?
I know, if Ever Crisis was a normal ass video game, that would be fun.
Yeah, true. But I mean, like if it was strictly like that, it feels like that's kind of the reward for playing, where it's like just make it like a Sephiroth game. Maybe you play as Sephiroth or something, like back when he wasn't, great. Like if they could create some kind of story there, you got the Wutai War and everything. You got all that stuff you could do.
Yeah,
it's like just if it was a normal ass game.
Or they could just make a movie. I mean,
yeah,
they've already made Advent Children, so like just make a new one that's just Sephiroth.
Yeah, they put out the CG Resident Evil movies all the time. Like, like I feel like we could, not they're the same company, but I feel like there's just so many of those. Like you could just take that kind of approach.
Yeah.
But yeah. or like they could even do like a, I don't know, short stories or something, like, you know, a little like Sephiroth journal of his time at war in Wutai or something like that. And you like read through these little logs. It's like Metal Gear Solid reading through the all the story of Shadow Moses and all those codec.
I mean, Final Fantasy XIV does that, where they have the Tales from series. It's like Tales from the Storm and Tales from the Blue and stuff like that, Tales from the Shadows, where it's all just little short stories about characters, either backstories or like what they were doing on their own while the story was kind of off in a different direction. And there's there's a side story from the Heavensward arc that has like a massive character arc for Justinian, and if you never read it, you never figure out why this this person who's like an asshole and the bad guy in one expansion is completely absent in another expansion and then comes back as your best friend and good guy. It's just like the context is in this story.
Yeah, I don't know when I'll get back to it. Like I said, I just kind of popped in just to see. I want to see like the opening bit, and then I'm not sure how long essentially what would be the prologue that was part of the demo, like just that initial chapter is going to be, because I want to just get out to like do the beginning, do the flashback, then they go forward. But I just haven't gone back to it yet. But I do like that they don't do at least they don't do the traditional Western style of, oh, it's a new game, you're going to start at 0. Like, oh
yeah.
But and it's also so funny, like when you're doing the flashback, like he's running around and I'm picking up material. I'm like, am I gonna get to keep this? Like, how do what's gonna happen with this when I'm done with the flashback?
I had that exact thought. I was like, why am I trying so hard to get this stupid material on the cliff? I'm probably not gonna keep it.
Yeah, I'm like, what's it gonna be like? Unless you when you're there, because you know he's telling the story while they're on their way there, I guess. Versus, or no, are they actually in the hotel when he's telling the story?
No, they're in Calm right now. They're just outside Midgar.
They're in Calm.
Yeah,
okay.
They're like
That's
a
right.
day or two outside Midgar.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to go through, you go to like the Chocobo thing, you go through the swamp.
Yeah.
You go through Gold Saucer. Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I guess maybe when you get back there in the actual game, it'll be like in a chest, like whatever you picked up will be like, oh yeah, and then when after I left that instant, I put all my stuff in a box. But yeah, it's I'm like, yeah, why am I running around looking for boxes to break open? But
do you also consistently forget that you can vault over fences now?
No, because I'm constantly like spamming that button because you don't have a proper jump. So I just hit the button like just vault, please.
I spent about 5 minutes trying to figure out how to get to a chest because I have JRPG brain and was like, I don't see anywhere that I can like go around and to get everything to get there. And then I was like walking up the stairs and Sephiroth like jumped over the rail. I was like, okay, asshole. Like,
I get it. You're the best soldier.
I was like, okay, you don't have to be so like, I'll just go get it or whatever.
Come on,
yeah, dude. I constantly forget that.
He's like, geez, why give me some condescending, Sephiroth?
I know, huh? I constantly forget that I can like go over railings, and I'm spending way too much time trying to find like, you stare at the map and you look at it, you're like, okay, I must be able to go over there. It just, no, idiot, you just go over the railing. Constantly forget.
Yep. Yeah. I'm curious how long it's going to take them to actually get to where they need to go. Because like in the in the base game, the OG game, I feel like it wasn't that long. So I'm curious, like with how much they stretched Midgard in the remake. Like I'm curious, like how much are these short sections? Like when you have to run across the railroad tracks in the when you can fall down and go left or right to catch stuff when you're like on your way through the mountain pass, like.
Yeah.
Is that section in the remake going to be like, oh my God.
An hour and a half of puzzles?
When I'm doing the bit where I'm stopping the train from crashing into the reactor, is it going to make more sense how I'm actually working these levers versus the OG game? Because I'm like, I'm just going to fucking keep moving these things. And it's like, I guess I'm speeding it up. I guess I'm slowing it down. Like, I have no idea how that worked in OG one. I just did it. And if I survived, then I did. It's like, okay.
You just spam the buttons until you figure you survive. And then if you don't, you just reload the save.
Right. Yeah. It's like, all right, but I guess that'll be probably part 3, but who knows?
Mhm.
But yeah, it's I'll be interested to play more of it, but I only popped it in for a bit and I haven't touched it since. But
Yeah.
have you been playing like I said, at this point, might as well just talk about what we've been playing since there wasn't much news wise. But have you been playing anything else, Isley, since you weren't playing Final Fantasy?
No, I'm still waiting on. Okay, I will take that back. I actually did start up Death Stranding, and well, you're gonna be disappointed in me because you literally told me this, but I didn't play long enough to get through the tutorial, so it was a
Well,
real struggle. But I've
it's a
discovered,
big tutorial area, like that first giant open
yeah.
section. There's a lot of teach the player.
So I'm just gonna play it at night with my portal and get through the tutorial area probably tonight, and then we can chat Death Stranding all again.
There's still some great stuff in that tutorial area, like because they teach you about the BTs. There's a whole section you can dot. They teach you about planning out your route if you want to, rotating the map, all that stuff. Like it's very limited in what they give you. Like you get the bridge, like you build the one, but it's like okay, but yeah, just it's very much. Oh, you get the bike pretty quick too in that first section, but until you actually drive into a BT area and the battery dies, you're like shit. Do I want to wait for it to recharge real quick, come back on? But yeah, there's plus that's still a really good looking area in the tutorial. But yeah, there's just a lot of back and forth. But yeah, I look forward to you should well, I guess if you're playing on the portal, you can't really stream it.
You might be able to. I should test that out and see if you can.
If you're streaming it to your portal, you probably don't want to also stream it to
over my shitty internet. You mean I don't want to double dip?
Yeah, probably not. But yeah. Have you been playing anything else besides well, because you played Integrate. So how long did that take you to beat? Just a couple hours?
Yeah, maybe like 4, maybe 5 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
short.
just
Yeah,
I put it on I just put it on easy so I could like get through
just to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did that where like when I was on the last boss, I guess because it had been so long, not so long, it had been like a while since I played it. Like at the time, I forget what else was out when that originally came out, but I was like, do I really want to spend time in this boss fight? Because I forget what it was about. Is it the poison that's in that fight? There's like a mechanic about it. I'm like, I just don't want to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
And I think it was the poison or something. But I was just like, I just lowered I was like, no, I'm just putting it back. I'm just dropping the difficulty down. I'm not gonna play on
I just
higher
don't want to
difficulty.
deal with this. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, because that last fight, I was like, oh man, because it's isn't it 2 phases?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the second phase, he does that darkness cloud thing where it like saps your yeah.
God, why do I not even remember what the boss of Integrate is?
It's the boss. It's because the enemies from whatchamacallit?
Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, Michael was watching me play it, and as soon as him and Vice came on the screen, I was like, these assholes. And Michael's like, should I know
Bandage
who they
face.
are?
Yeah.
He was like, what is this Kingdom Hearts bullshit? I was like, I know, right?
Yeah. This guy, he doesn't have Genova cell. He's from a different program, but he's got what's his face, his genes. But yeah, that second phase of the fight, I was like, okay, nah, I'm over it. But I did like playing run around as Yuffie. Yuffie was fun, and I was like, so I'm curious how quick she'll show up in the base game. If it'll be much faster than, because obviously I don't think in the they'll be missable like they can be in the OG one, especially because you had an entire expansion featuring them.
Imagine like you could still miss her in the main game.
Right? Yeah, that'd be out of control. But yeah, I look forward to playing more of that.
Well, she's also marketed in this one, whereas I don't recall, but I don't think she was marketed in the original.
She had a character art and stuff, but yeah, I don't think she wasn't like.
But like did she have character art in the? Like I know that all the images they've put out from Final Fantasy VII for this show like the party overlooking like a giant cliff, and it has her in the party.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to let's see FF7 Rebirth.
It also has Vincent in the party, which I was like, oh, that's
yeah, because the cover. I mean, the main cover it's Zack, Sephiroth, and Cloud. that I see all the time. And then, they do have the one. Yeah, and they have the one Rebirth where it's them, the main party that leaves Midgar, kind of like looking over a cliff, but not too much else. None of the other party members, at least. So not in the box art. It's not in the splash screen either. The splash screen is just the 3 characters, Starfall, Zack, and Cloud. But yeah, hopefully she'll pop up a lot quicker. But because where did you go? But yeah, really curious about where things go. But I'll probably play some more of that this week. I'm almost done with Tomb Raider 2, my replay of that. But yeah, I guess I talk about Tomb Raider 2, man. So this is gonna be like Tomb Raider 2 remaster is like the definition of rose-tinted glasses for me. Like, man, I must have like just flushed out all the dumb levels from my mind when I think about this game fondly. Because like Tomb Raider 1, it's got 4, we'll call it 4 like plate locations and then sub levels in each of those locations. Like you start in Peru, you got the caves, you go to the city of Vilcabamba, Lost Valley, Tomb of Qualipec, and then you go to Greece, and it's like, okay, St. Francis Folly, sure, Colosseum, Palace of Midas, but it's all like ancient places. Like they're not modern. Yeah. Like Tomb Raider 2, like you start on the Great Wall of China. I'm like, okay, I remember I go to Venice. You go to Venice, you got the entire Venice section. Then you got Bertoli's hideout, which is long as shit. You got Opera House, which is long as shit. And I'm like, okay, it's done. I'm like, now my memory, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know we stop at an oil rig real quick, and then we go down to the underwater section, and then on to Tibet. And it's like, no. Then I get to it's offshore rig, and then you got the diving area, and then you get to 40 Fathoms, and then you get to the Wreck of Maria Doria, and then you get to the living quarters, then you get to the deck, and I'm like, I'm sorry, how big is this fucking boat that went down? And like there's so many places it's underwater, and there's these giant caves where part of the boat is that have no water. I'm like, I don't understand the topography and how this is physically possible. It'd be like if the Titanic, it sank, they went to go see it, and like it was upside down, half of it was in a cave with no water, the other half was also underwater because it was sticking out. Like the whole design of this, and the levels are fucking long as shit. Like I'm finally in Tibet, I'm at the monastery finally. And like Tibetan foothills was very, and also like the jump in difficulty level from the Great Wall to Venice is huge. Like I'm like, how the fuck was I doing this as a kid? It's like Great Wall, fucking straightforward as shit. You slide down, you're in the water, you climb up, you get in the wall, you open a door, or like you run through a doorway, you fall down, you flip a switch, you open a door, you go outside, there's a lock. Like, okay. And there's a bird. And it's like, oh, clearly the only way to go is jump down to another pool of water where there's a key underwater, and there's like a line. You get the key, go up, open the door. It's very linear. There's no human enemies until like the very end. And then, there's the T-Rex, but it's very straightforward. A lot of traps. Spiky walls in the Great Wall of China, apparently. And you got to do it. Trying to grab that one dragon collectible is like impossible. When the spiky walls are coming on, I'm like, fuck it. I'm doing it. But you get to Venice, and Venice is like, oh, you didn't realize you can break windows with your gun, because like none of the other windows break in this level except these 2 windows. And also it's like okay, now I'm like, could you break windows in the OG game? Like I don't remember that. Not in the first one, not the original Tomb Raider 2, because obviously you can flip between the 2. And that's another thing too. Like I'm constantly flipping because there are ways that the game will light stuff in the original that is different than the way they do in the remake. So it's like a movable block will be lit in a certain way because it's movable. But I have like all these notes I took from playing this game. I'm like, holy shit. So like the fact that there are doors that only open through proximity from Laura being there because enemies open the door. So I'm like, oh, there's a locked door. There's no key indicator. I haven't found a switch to open. It's like the only way for the door to open is Laura has to actually go by the door. The enemy comes out the door. Now the door's open. And then like enemies dropping key items. Like now you have to search every enemy. Like I was playing Venice, and I'm like, okay, there's the boat behind the door that has in the boathouse that has it's locked. Like, where the fuck is this key? I'm like, okay, well, you can keep playing the rest of the level. I find the other boat. And it's like also like how I totally forgot. It's like I feel like I could hang on these little overhangs on these windows. I'm like, okay, that's how you do it. I can't jump on the little poles, which you can do in Tomb Raider Last Revelation, I believe. You might be able to do in Tomb Raider 3. It's been a while since I played that. But I'm like, okay, you can't do that. So like trying to figure out, okay, what I can do to actually traverse the map. But I couldn't find the key. I'm doing the rest of the game. I'm like, okay, there's another boat. I'm like, I remember I need the boat to blow up the bombs that are blocking the exit to the level. But I'm like, how would you teach that to the player that, hey, by the way, you need to bring this boat from the very beginning of the level to the other side of the level so you can use one boat, drive, jump out while it's going, blow up the bombs, and then you're free to go. Like how I don't know how you teach that to players. And I don't know how I learned it as a kid. Someone tell me. I don't like it feels like games in the 90s were designed to sell strategy guides.
Uh-huh.
And so that and plus this and hotlines. Help hotlines were a thing back in the 90s too. It was on the case. Like
you either did that or you spent hours just doing everything that you didn't think you could do and trying everything that you can possibly try and eventually doing it on accident and being like, oh, well, I don't know how I did that, but I guess I'll move on.
Yeah. And then it's like there was when I was looking for the key, it's like, oh, I killed a guy and I had to go. He was on like a balcony and he couldn't get off the balcony. So I have to like go through the window, jump across, go to him, and he dropped a key. And it's like the first instance of an enemy dropping something, the key item you need to get. So now it's like every enemy I kill, I run past them to see if they only dropped health or ammo in case they drop something important. And it's just super annoying. And then it's like there's a part where I had to like in the second part of Venice and Bartoli's house, it's like you had the ridiculous amount of parkour you had to do. It's like I need to jump and then hang and then get up and then backflip, like to do this just weird stuff. And there was this one part where there's like a fireplace in Bartoli's hideout where there's no indication at all that there's a movable block in the fireplace. Like it's not designed differently. Like it looks like it's just an empty fireplace. And like I run up to it and like it popped up this giant exclamation point to show that there's an interactable. And I switch between the two OG and the remake. And I think the remake kind of makes it look a little different shadow wise. And maybe if I bust out a flare, like the lighting would pop on it. But like looking at it, there was no way to discern that, oh, you have to move this block. So it's just like, and there's like, yeah, like I don't know how players would know that when there's broken glass on the floor, that if you walk through it, you don't care. Like I knew that because I played the original one, but like anybody else, even back in the day, like how would you know that walking through the broken glass doesn't kill you? Like I don't know who
doing it on accident or trying anyway.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
It's like when you figure out that you can walk through spikes. Like obviously you never want to go near them, but then you're like, okay, well, there's got to be a way that I can get through because there's a secret on the other side, and I can do this or whatever. It's like you just figure it out, I guess, or you watch your like older sibling do it, and you're like, well, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. I feel like the answer was always frustration. Like, yeah. I'm fed up with this. I can't figure it out. Fuck it. I'll just run through the spikes. And then you're like, oh, that works. Well, cool.
Yeah. And I feel like these games embedded that I better look in every nook and cranny in all future video games. Because that's what you have to do in these Tomb Raider games. And like, also, I feel like they have like counterintuitive design. Like, I go into a room in Bartoli's hideout, and it's like, okay, I flip a switch and it opens the door, but don't go through the door yet because you got to keep exploring the room because there's a key you have to find by flipping another switch that opens a painting in the wall, and there's a key behind the painting because if you go through the door you just opened, you're going to get to the lock, and you can't proceed. So it's like, why are you trolling the player to be like, hey, I opened the door, clearly let's go do it, and they get to the end, you're like, nope, can't do it. And that's all over the game too. There's so many instances where you open a door, but don't go there yet because you don't have the key you need to open the thing at the end of that door.
I mean, that's a very key moment early on in 1 where you can miss the little golden idol thing that you need to open the door in City of Vilcabamba, where it's like you get to the room where you drop down into the water and there's like a bear or whatever. Well, you figure out and you open the gate, but you can't open the door behind the gate because you need that little idol thing. So you have to go like way back to the beginning of the level and just find it in this little hidden like alcove thing that you can totally miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, you have to also save like all the time because this game is like they troll you all the time now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it? I don't remember all this trolling. It's like dumb Mario Maker levels. Like, oh, you went in the wrong pipe. Now there's a bunch of invisible blocks above you can't get out. It's like, this is bad design. Why are you trolling the player? There's so many instances where like I didn't save, and then like the save I had go back. I'm like, oh my god, I fucking. And they're like, why isn't there a quick save in the remake? Like, I would easily love to bind it because like Oddworld, Abe's Exodus, like came out in that same time frame, and like that had quick saves, and because that game's all about. It's all platforming, so like in very precise stuff, and I feel like they should have had it in the original. Like, I don't know why you didn't like the constant saving just to make sure you don't. Oops, I didn't realize I was supposed to go down. When I go off this ledge, I have to go backwards because then I need to hang off from the thing I'm sliding down, or else I'm gonna die because I gotta grab the edge and drop down to another edge. And also, like the levels fucking suck. Venice and the Rig and Maria Doria suck ass. Where is the tombs? Like, I'm like, it took so long to get to these levels just to get like Tomb Raider 1 is all about, checking these. Like this is why I don't like Tomb Raider 3, because I'm like, okay, Tomb Raider 3, I'm like, India at least is good. South Pacific is good. But then I'm getting to Nevada. I hate the Nevada section. Don't care about Area 51. And then London. And I'm like, oh, okay, London sucks ass. And then it's like, then I go to Antarctica. So I remember like level skipping those because I'm like, I don't like modern levels. And then I feel like they perfected it with Tomb Raider 4 because at least then it's like it's all ancient stuff. It's ancient temples, and sure, you get to like the city of Alexandria, but Alexandria leads you to the coastal ruins and the catacombs and all these other levels. And even the city of the dead is like, okay, it's a city, but it leads you to all these other cool sections. It's just so much better. And like, yeah, Tomb Raider 2, I'm like, man, I can't believe that. And I went back and looked at reviews for it. I'm like, how well did this review? And they say like all the reviews say like, oh, it's really hard. I'm like, I could see that because there's like in the fucking underwater levels, like there's so much like it, and it does that thing I talk about that I hate in puzzle games, like Talos Principle, where I don't like stuff that makes you go back and forth for no goddamn reason. It's like I don't like solve the puzzle this way and then reverse engineer it to get back out. Like it's so much of that is Tomb Raider 2, where it's like, oh, you got to run here to flip a switch, to run back here to get a key, to run over there to use the key, to run over here. It's like, did you need to do, or like, I got to move these blocks out of the way. Like so much of it is just like put in the way to slow the player down for no reason at all. I'm like, is this a product of the game coming out a year after the other one? Like, is it just, I got to make something quick and slow people down to pad the game out? Like, and why Laura fucking, shimmies? Sorry, go ahead.
Were the original Tomb Raiders, were they arcade games?
No.
They were console games.
Yeah.
Well, I know they were console as well. I was just like, I feel like I at one point played a Tomb Raider in an arcade, but I couldn't remember if that was a fabricated memory or not.
It has that same kind of feel to it. Like this would eat my tokens if I was trying to play this in an arcade.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know where I was going to go, where I was ranting there, but yeah, it's just ridiculous stuff. It's so like, and they do that thing luckily where it's like, when I hate like you flip a switch and it shows you like what it opened. So as long as you remember where that was, but then there's one like in one of the living quarters where it's like you have to flip switches. And I remember these where it's like they change these like pistons that are in like this engine room to help you jump to different sections. Like I remember that, but like it just makes a noise and you're just supposed to, it doesn't tell the player really like, hey, this changed. So I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's just so much of it is like, what the fuck were you guys smoking, man? I don't understand how you can make something so ridiculous. And especially because like in like when I was playing like the monastery level, I was like, okay, like Tibetan Foothills was super straightforward. It was very linear. I'm in the monastery. I'm like, okay, I know the objective is to get these 4, prayer wheels to get out of the level. I'm like, okay. But then I find a key and it's like, it tells you the name of the key, but none of the locks had their name on it. You just kind of have to assume, like, at least like in Tibetan Foothills, like cabin key. Oh, there's only one cabin. I know where that is. But I'm like, stronghold key. I'm like, fuck. Well, there's like 3 key locations. I guess I'll try them all because I don't know if it's going to match up. And it's like, oh, this is the one. And then I open up, and so I open up the stronghold. The stronghold just has a key to the rooftops. I'm like, why did you put a key behind another key requirement? Like, what is this game design? It's so ridiculous.
It's the perfect trick to avoid burglars. You just hide a key behind a key behind a key.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, at least, I feel like Resident Evil, which, again, came out in the same time, like Resident Evil 2, like, and stuff, really, like, they perfected it, where it's like, you find a key, and like that one, like, oh, I got the heart key. Now I can open up all the heart doors. So, okay, you go back and you explore all the doors you couldn't open. Eventually you find maybe another key that lets you, like, there's this nice like reward to finding this stuff in progression. We're like, this is like, no, you just got to find the key that gets you in the room to hit the switch, to do the thing. And it's like, and none of these are tombs. So it just makes me more mad because I'm like, this is not Tomb Raider in my head. I'm like, this is just, I don't know why I don't know why I have so many fond memories of Tomb Raider 2 when clearly Tomb Raider 1's a superior game between the two games.
I feel like I have fond memories of Tomb Raider 2 because the only levels that I actually played were the good levels and the levels that I like. I very distinctly remember never being able to do the ship levels and having to have my friend do them for me.
Yeah, I got one point on one of them where I was like, it was it's like the offshore rig. So when you get to the offshore rig, it's like you were on, like you snuck onto a plane and like they find out Laura was on the plane, they knock her out. You wake up and you gotta like move all the shit. You don't have your guns. So you break out, the alarm gets set off. There's these two thugs that start chasing you. One has a melee weapon, one has a gun. In order to progress the level, you have to have them chase you up to like this like observation room, which has a lot needs like a key card. But you have to get the guy with the gun to shoot at Laura, but you have to stand in front of the glass windows. And I'm like, how the hell would you teach the player that? Like, it was so annoying. Like, I guess if you do it by accident, which was funny because I watched a video where it was talking about like because I never played the DLCs because they're all on PC, so all the DLC is here. So I'm like, oh, I should play these because I'm like they should be pretty fun. And so I watched the video. It's like, oh, they're like, why I'm excited about these because I really like the this and that. And then that person's video then triggered a for you like why the Tomb Raider game, the Tomb Raider games are hard and what they don't teach you. And it had like clips of stuff that I talked about and then also showed videos of people in Venice not knowing they could shoot the window because you can't shoot like 99% of the other windows. And then like it was really funny. So just seeing people play blindly for the first time and not knowing and then just accidentally shoot a window and like, what the fuck? Or like in I think it's in Tomb Raider 3 or Last Revelations where like Laura can open up doors that are on the floor, but you can't do that in any other video game. Or any of the Tomb Raider games. It's like, and then in Tomb Raider 3, there's one where like you're on the rooftops fighting the bad guy, and there's like a circuit breaker box, but you have to shoot the circuit breaker box. But there's like no object interaction like that in the video games at all, except for this one instance. It's like this weird shit where they introduce things you have to do that they never teach you about. And like I don't like. It's funny because he brought up in Tomb Raider Last Revelation. There's a bit where you have to find a stick and a hook, and you combine them so you can reach these keys that are behind a gate. Like I figured that out when I played the original game, but you never do that at all ever before that point. So it's like I just figured it out because it intuitively made sense. Like, oh, combine the hook and the stick. But yeah, just this odd shit. And like I kept playing this, I'm like, man, what the hell were people doing in the 90s? And how did kids play this? Like I don't get it. Dude.
It's very much a game where you're constantly saying, what if I, or can I, or I wonder if I can. That's what it is. It's just thinking you're being creative and just like figuring out these weird puzzles, and you're like, oh, I figured it out, I'm so creative. It's like, no, it shouldn't have been that hard. But yeah, it's just 90s video game design.
Yeah, it's just too much back and forth, man. Like I don't get it.
This is bringing back all these memories of like playing PS1 games and playing the intro to the game and spending like an eternity on the intro to the game, feeling like it was the entire game. And then you learn one critical thing, like how to open a door, and you're like, oh my god, this was just the start.
Well, I remember when I first played Tomb Raider 2. Tomb Raider 2 was my first Tomb Raider. I didn't play, like, they don't tell you that going to Laura's home is the quote-unquote tutorial. Because Laura talks to you and says, like, to jump, you do this. Like, it teaches you, like, all the jumping mechanics, this and that. So I never did that when I first played Tomb Raider. So I just hopped in. I had no idea how to, because jump and grab are not the same button in OG controls. You have to, hit square to jump, X to grab. So I didn't know how to jump up to the ledge and grab it. It's like when I was a kid. So I did like this dumb side jump to get up top to actually get out of that first area. And then later I learned that, oh, if I jump and, if I use X to jump when I'm near a ledge, that'll trigger the jump and she'll grab it. But it was like, I didn't do that. But yeah, just, and there's all this other stuff that they won't teach you in the tutorial bit when it's just all about traversal, but they don't tell you how to do anything else. And it's fucking 6 levels of the rig and underwater bits. I'm like, this is too fucking long. Even Venice was 3 sections in that place, and I hated it, and that was too long.
I wonder if there's like a reason why these old games had such garbage like tutorials and instructions. Like, were we just not used to it? Like, they didn't think people would need it, or they thought it would be more intuitive?
It's probably because it's the first bit in the 3D. So yeah, people probably didn't think about it. And when it's definitely got to be that thing of where if I'm teaching someone how to do something in Excel they don't know how to do, to me it makes sense, totally easy to follow along. But you got to slow it down because they don't know it, they've never done it. So like I'm sure when you're making the levels, like, oh, and then I'll put the key here and then the door there, like, it's like, oh yeah, you just run through, exactly where to go. Like it's got to be that. Did they play test it? like was that a thing back then? I don't know, man. But because I'm sure when we're talking about like, oh, and the player will go over here and they'll grab this thing and opens this thing and go back and forth a bunch. It's just like, why was the oil rig and underwater level 6 levels? I don't understand. Even Tibet's only 4 levels, and it's like that's when it gets back to being good. Like because at least it feels like Tomb Raider now. But yeah, I hate it. I must have level skipped the shit out of Venice and the underwater sections because I don't remember being this fucking long.
You just load into the level and do the little code where you like spin around and then jump and forward
step
and
left,
backwards
step
and
right,
stuff, and you're just like,
left.
I'm out.
Yeah, spin 3 times, jump. Oh, I blew up. I did the wrong one.
Yeah,
I made lore explode because that's a code for some reason. But yeah, it's not good, man. Again, rose-tinted glasses. I'm like, and once I got to like, and there are some levels where I'm like, it's fine where it's like, okay. Again, it teaches you to explore everything, and there's times in the remake where it's like, or the remaster where it's like, switches don't stand out as well as they did in the OG. So like, I'll switch back and forth.
Yeah.
Again, they might like light a switch. So there have been times where, like I missed a switch or I missed a lever, and I have to like, what the hell? And I go like I changed the design. Like, oh, it's easier to spot in there because they lit it differently in the original game to where you can actually see it better. This and that.
The texture stands out and everything.
Yeah, like if this game was made with like ultra real, like Uncharted 4 graphics, I'd be like, I don't fucking know where anything is because I don't know how you spot shit. Like they better yellow paint it because there's no way you'd be able to see it. Like that's the benefit of that OG geometry is like, okay, it's very rigid. So it's like that kind of helps you navigate stuff unless they hide like a dumb underwater alcove you got to swim through that unless you go to that very corner of the underwater area, it's right around a little rock in order to see it. It's like that shit annoys me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, it's just bad design. Why did Tomb Raider go to Venice in some fucking oil rig? I don't understand. Why? Well, Laura, what are you doing? This is so dumb. Thank God. Again, which I feel like they kind of try to remedy in Tomb Raider 3, except for the Area 51 bit in London. But yeah, it's just like, this is not Tomb Raider, man. This is like James Bond spy shit. So frustrating. But oh yeah, it's been a really wild experience. I just want to play Tomb Raider 4 though. I'm like, just let me do that.
I feel like I wanted to get the remaster because I like that you can switch back and forth between like the remaster graphics and the old graphics. But I was like, you're same thing. I want to play Tomb Raider 4. It's sitting in a drawer in my bedroom right now. Like I could hook up my PlayStation and go play it, but it's just like, and now I have to do all that. My little retro space isn't set up, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like if I bought it and played it, I would want to just play it on my PlayStation just because. Yeah,
I don't think it was ever a PS1 classic. So I don't think you can play it on like PS4. So I didn't even think it was a PS3 PS1 classic. So I don't know. I guess the only
way that too. I have Schrodinger's PS3 where I have the 60 gigabyte like fully backwards compatible one, but it hasn't been plugged in for so long that I'm afraid if I try to plug it in and play it, it'll yellow light, and so now it's just sitting in limbo. So I'm scared to play. But I mean, I could do that too. It's sitting right underneath right at the bottom of my TV stand. I could just plug it in. Of course, after the bullshit I went through yesterday trying to plug in my PS4, I don't know if I want to go bother with that. So
yeah. I wonder if I wonder if playing it on PC would be be fun because I know a lot of the issues people have playing like old PC games is it's like, oh yeah, you have the entire library. It's like, yeah, but they don't always work great on, you know, upgraded architecture and GPUs and whatnot. It's like it's tough. Like even like when I was thinking about playing Far Cry 3 on PC, I was like, yeah, well, you gotta kind of do some stuff because to get it to work properly. But
you
yeah,
have to get like a Windows 98 emulator just to play old PC games.
Right. Or I guess I have that. I guess get like a PS1 emulator and play it 2 meter last resolution that way. But yeah, because at least that had like I remember like all the puzzles so well in that one. Just a ton of puzzles and lots of fun stuff in that one. It's like it felt like you got that back and forth bit, especially in like Temple of Circuit and whatnot. But it's like I don't remember it feeling as bad as it is in actuality in Tomb Raider 2. And maybe
until you go back and play it.
Well, it's funny because of them all, I've played Tomb Raider Last Revelation probably the most all the way through, hardly skipping. Like the only levels I skipped once on like replays is like when you get to the like City of the Dead, because I'm like, there's that giant like serpent that sticks out of the ground. I just want to get past this and just get to the temple, get to the last sections, and jump on the giant pyramid. Have rocks fall out of nowhere. That's the Ulrich's so dumb because it's like there's like these barrels randomly, and it's like, oh, well, oops, I guess I died because I didn't realize there was going to be a barrel around the corner because I can't move the camera that way. Got to reload, and then I'm walking around the monastery, and there's just like, why do these monks have these two wheels rolling back and forth with these spiky bits on the end of them in this room? This seems very unsafe. And this one monk just walking through these 3 swords that are swinging off the wall. And I'm like, why do you have these booby traps in your hallway, man? What are you doing? And it's like the goons come in and they're fighting the monks. And I'm like, but Laura keeps targeting the monks by accident. And I'm like, I just won't shoot because I don't want all the monks to turn on me. And,
You're like, I'll let you figure that out.
Yeah, but yeah, it's because even the Tomb Raider, because I really like the Tomb Raider 1 remake they did for Tomb Raider Anniversary. I thought it was really good on PS2, and it's essentially the same. All the stuff you do, there might be some puzzle differences, I suppose, but yeah, I remember that fondly, which is why I didn't want to replay the original one. But now I'm kind of like, I guess I should just replay the first one and see if it's as crazy as 2. But I don't feel like it is because. Anyway, maybe Tomb Raider 3 will, because in my mind, Tomb Raider 3, I also like, while I played it, I don't have like great memories of it, like as far as like enjoying the game overall. I did a lot of level skipping it because I'm like, I don't want to do this. So I'm wondering if I replay it now, if it'll be better.
The only thing I vividly remember from 3 is the house. I think I probably maybe played the game all the way through twice, probably. But I spent hours and hours and hours in the house level, like the racetrack and all the little puzzles that you could do in there, just running around the course and stuff like that. And I was like, we used to do the racetrack, but we would get off the ATV and like explore and look around and see if we could find secrets and stuff like that. Like that's what I remember of 3. I don't remember much of the actual game.
Yeah, I remember a lot about it, especially jungle levels, the T-Rex, the alien at Area 51, the spaceship that's there, yada yada, this and that. And
I do remember a lot of the Area 51 stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember much of the London area because I hated it. I remember the fight in the rooftop. And I remember most of the jungle stuff. I know that in the remake, there's that bit in the jungle level where there's quicksand. And in the original, like, it's wavy. Like, the ground is wavy to show, like, oh, it's got the dirt texture, but it's wavy. Clearly it's bad. So, but of course you make Laura go into it and she dies. But in the remake, it's like it's just flat and doesn't move. So it's like I don't know how you would discern that it was quicksand because it's not doing anything. But I'd be curious, like what other PS1, because I've replayed like the OG Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, and Abe's Exodus multiple times, like within the past decade, and they hold up just fine. Same with like the some other games that came out back then, that like Castlevania Symphony of the Night played multiple times. Like I'm curious if there's any other exploration. I guess there's not too many exploration puzzle games or stuff like that to really double check, because I played Resident Evil 2 so much that's just fine. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other games like this, like that maybe I haven't played as much but I have fond memories of, to go back and replay to see if I have that again. rose-tinted glasses of and turns out like nope, they're real bad. Or at least this giant sections of them are real bad. But
I always wondered about that with Spyro, because I used to play Spyro a lot, and then like didn't play it for a very long time, and the remakes came out, played, and I was like, oh well, I wonder. I mean, it's updated, but I wonder if it's just not as fun or if it's more frustrating than I remember. Played that all weekend. Played it. I was like, Spyro's perfect. This game is perfect. Ripto's Rage, not my favorite, but the OG Spyro, I could probably go back and play the OG and the remake. Multiple
because
times.
even like the Crash Bandicoot remakes, like I played through those, and like those are still fun. And, like there's some tough precision platforming you got to do, but it wasn't like, oh, this is just awful. It's just like, yeah, this is exactly as I remember it. Like it's there. It just must be because Tomb Raider's 3D exploration, kind of like semi-open, not open world, but like just giant open areas. Like it just must be. And again, I should replay the first one all the way through and see if it's just a weird change they did between 1 and 2. Because I remember like there's that one level in Tomb Raider 1 where it's like you're constantly, I think it's maybe Temple of Sight or something, where it's like, or no, sorry, that's Last Revelation, but like you're constantly raising like the water level in different rooms. And I remember like so there's a lot of back and forth, but it's like I don't remember being like super frustrating. Like it was very clear, like it was very much I can't go this way, I have to go this way. Whereas Tomb Raider 2 is very much like I can go a lot of places, but they don't always lead me somewhere. So clearly I have to, there's too much exploration and corner checking to like really kind of funnel you to be like, okay, I can go again. You open the door, but don't go to the door. Keep exploring. Kind of bullshit that they do. So
no,
yeah, I'm wondering.
Well, this might be I hate the cistern level in 1. It's just like that was the one that I always skipped. Even if I played it all the way through, I would play every other level except that one.
The crocodiles.
But I don't even remember having that like, oh, okay, well, I opened up this pathway, but I can't do anything, so I need to go back and change the water level and do a different pathway. It was always like it had a somewhat linear progression, and then you only backtrack like a little bit. I don't know. I hated that level, and there's got to be a reason that I hated it, but I haven't played it so long I don't remember why.
Yeah, it feels like there's so many parts in Tomb Raider 2 where it's like it's to get past this obstacle, they needlessly put like 2 other obstacles to block that obstacle. It's like, why? I just want to throw the switch to get past here. It's like, no, you got to go here, flip this switch, which does this thing. Then you have to run all the way across and flip another switch to do this other thing. And then it's like, oh, and it's also on a timer. And it's like, this isn't fun.
It's like the illusion of progression where you're just doing a lot of things, but once you like step back and think about everything you did, you're like, I didn't need to do half of that. It was just a weird checklist.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like in the '90s, mid-90s, like it might have been fine then. This is like an example of just not aging well for this game. Where like a lot of games from back day, like, oh, should you play the OG Final Fantasy? It's like, probably if you can play it before the remake, sure, play it. It's like, yeah, visually, it's kind of, hit miss and, run around, it looks goofy. It's like, but mechanically, it's still great, and all this stuff, like boss fights are still fun, this and that. You still got the story. Like, it's not like it's going to be like, oh, maybe there's some minor quality of life things you should have, but like just the level design of Tomb Raider is like, I'm like, no one is doing this because it's not good. It's like, but yeah, it's so crazy. But yeah, I should really, I think I'll have to replay 1 and 3 just to. 3 will be interesting because that's the one I've played the least and the least amount of, where I've at least played all of 1 multiple times, and now I've played through 2 most recently. That'll be curious to go through, but yeah. Then the DLC, of course, but yeah, it's just like, man, what were they doing? And it even has like a lesser score than the first game, so clearly it wasn't like, oh, this is like the Uncharted 2 to Uncharted. It's like, it's good. It's not as good, probably because of the lack of tombs you're raiding. But anyway,
they tried too many different things in too short a time.
Got to slow the player down. They beat the first game too fast. It's like, you gotta throw it some random shit.
We gotta make the game longer. They're speedrunning our first game. What's speedrunning?
yeah, we're gonna have this crazy dumb boat. It's just like, but yeah, it's silly. But all right, well, that's my rant on Tomb Raider 2. I knew as soon as I started taking notes, I'm like, this is gonna be the whole rant thing.
I feel bad because I never actually played the original Tomb Raider, so I'm just like, that sounds miserable. But it also sounds like every PS1 game ever.
But I don't have this memory though with any of the other, like even with Tomb Raider 1, which again I replayed with Tomb Raider Anniversary, which is very much beat for beat. You know, it looks better, but it's very much beat for beat like the original Tomb Raider, and I had a ton of fun with that on PlayStation 2. And it's just like, yeah, man. And I had a lot of fun with Last Revelation. I have great memories because I love that game. Played it multiple times. And then it's just like, 2, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just not good levels. They suck. They're so bad. But anyway. All right. Well, we'll see if I finish that, and then if I end up ranting about Tomb Raider 3, or if I just put that aside and just start bouncing back.
You're gonna feel so bad if you play Tomb Raider 3 and you hate it now.
But that I won't care, because like for some reason, like at the time, I never played through 1. When I started 2, I never played through 1 like all the way through. Like I played like multiple levels and then kind of did some level skips. And then same for 3. I did multiple levels, but I also did some level skips. So I don't think I've actually, especially at the end, because I always hated that final area with those aliens with their hook arms. Always creepy. When I was a kid, I was like, I hate these guys. I gotta skip they always pop around the corner and scare me.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'll have to play through that one like all the way through. Plus the final fight in that one's so goofy. I mean, they're all kind of goofy, I guess, except for at least Natla's like very kind of straightforward to shoot. Even the second game, what you have to do is just, shoot and then pull the thing out. But that'd be interesting if you bought, and because it's like what, $30 or something, if you got it and then you played it, like maybe you played the OG one, not play 2.
Well, I don't know though. I found that, so I used to be really upset about like lack of backwards compatibility with PlayStation systems, but I found that if I don't have the nostalgia for most games, going back and playing like a PS1 or PS2 game that I don't have nostalgia for, I typically find to just be frustrating. The one exception is like pixelated or animated RPGs that the graphics weren't great back then, but now they're kind of stylized. I tend to still enjoy. So like I've enjoyed a lot of the Final Fantasy games I've gone back to. More so the like 4 and 6 and things like that. Less so the like 3D ones, but when it was top down pixelated stylized, I find that I can go back to them because I'm like, oh, it's retro, it's cute. But when I go back to that realm of like N64, PS1, start of 3D games, they just never hold up for me.
Yeah. If you never played them, then yeah, it's probably gonna be tough to go back.
Like I recently went back to play the GameCube Resident Evil 1 remake thing that came out a while ago, and even that I was like, oh my god, this is rough.
That makes it fun though. It's just like it's the meme of Squall's face from Final Fantasy VIII, where it's just like all distorted.
You're so handsome.
You're the best looking guy here, and he's like,
but I never played the Resident Evil 1, so it was like I find some of them fun. It's really those like the tank control 3D games at the start of 64 and PS1 are so painful for me.
Oh, yeah. I would say I'm a connoisseur, maybe an enjoyer of jank. So usually if a game is a little janky, I'm fine with it.
Enjoyer of jank.
I'm an enjoyer of jank. If it's a little bit off and it's a little bit frustrating or tough to control, it's fine. It's part of its charm, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm playing through all the Tomb Raider 2 remaster with the old controls, only because the new ones are fucking so dumb. But yeah,
I don't see, that's what I get. I don't know how you can make those games work well with modern control. It's a very, very like iconic control system, and trying to change it up, I feel like it just wouldn't feel right.
I feel like usually half the difficulty is the controls. So when you modernize it and you modernize the controls, you tend to take away from the difficulty because all of a sudden it's more fluid. So then game developers try to make it harder, and when they make it harder, it's not faithful. It doesn't fit with the rest of the game, something feels off, and then it just ends up not working typically, unless it's
Yeah.
like a full ground up remake.
Yeah, like Tomb Raider Anniversary, it had like modern controls, and it played real well. But again, they they also changed the combat to make the combat more engaging. They added that perfect dodge kind of instant kill thing you can do with Laura, which is great because
Mhm.
combat in OG games is kind of not
You hold
not
the shoot button and jump around.
yeah, you just shoot, you lock down, and jump around. Not very fun. But yeah, they at least changed it up in Tomb Raider Anniversary. But then it's like, okay, because they changed that, and they also have modern controls, they might have, while the levels might be the same and the puzzles you're solving could be the same, the level geometry might be different just to compensate for the fact that Laura has changed. And I know in the remaster they did change some stuff to where it's a little more less snappy with Laura in the, like, I guess you couldn't jump roll in the OG ones. They added that in the OG game. Not that it mattered because you don't need to do it for like any puzzles or anything like you do. There, man, that reminded me of this one puzzle in fucking the underwater ship where it's like there's a bit where you have to like slide down and there's a trap door that opens up, but you have to, under the trap door is like a bunch of spikes or something like that. But what you have to do is you slide down this ledge, jump to the other edge, you slide back, and you just have to jump back and forth until the door closes so you can get up to where you need to go. And like, I distinctly remembered that. So I'm like, when I got there, I'm like, oh my God, it's that fucking door. It's like, I hate, this is the dumbest, why would you, this is such a waste of time, this puzzle. Like, you just jump back and forth. Like, this is so stupid. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, if you change the controls, you got to kind of, I guess, change some geometry so the level's not exactly the same. But it is fun just to run through and hit that button to see it. It is annoying that it goes to 30 FPS in the OG style, but it is fun to like change and see how the level looks. The water texture is so funny because it's just one pane of water texture that's just copy paste everywhere. It looks so silly.
And it's like 3 frames of animation and they're all just kind of going the same. Yeah.
Like, yeah, look at that water. But yeah. It's silly. Anyway. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up there. I'll complain about other Tomb Raiders in the future.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. And hopefully play some more Rebirth and talk about that, get some more detail. But all right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you all for tuning and listening. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Zaya, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Later.